Let's say you're a young chap looking for a thrill. Now, the issue is you're flatter than broke. So how can you get the adrenaline flowing? Well, that's when you hear about abandoned buildings. And so you do a little bit of research and you find it. The holy grail of abandoned buildings. Gary, Indiana. But one building catches your attention over the rest. A European-looking church, over 9 stories tall. The Gary City Methodist Church. So what happened to such an architectural masterpiece? And why is it in ruins now? Well, dating back all the way to 1906, Gary always had a Methodist church. But pastor at the time, Dr. William Grant Seaman, was growing tired of all Gary's degeneracy, whether it be the bars or the brothels. So he reaches out to Gary's biggest employer, U.S. Steel. Not only were they receptive, they coughed up half of the $800,000 price tag and the future site. Construction would take off in 1925, helmed by Lowe and Ballenbacher of Chicago. After only 21 months, the first service would be held on October 3rd, 1926, serenaded by the organ donated by Gary's founder, Albert Gary. Churchgoers enjoyed the luxurious sanctuary, adjoining Seaman Hall Theater, seating 1,000, a gymnasium, a Sunday school, dining hall, and even a few corporate offices. Plans were even in the work for a rooftop garden, which was never finished, and even a bowling alley, which was scrapped. Simultaneously, the congregation would grow up to 1,700 by 1927, while only being managed by 6 staff members. But churchgoers would go disillusioned by one of these staff members, Pastor Seaman. His radical interest in cultural diversity would lead his own congregation to involuntarily transfer him to Ohio in 1929. Although he was shut out of his own church, his ashes would be laid to rest within its walls in 1944. Prior to his death, the church was falling on hard times during the Great Depression. New revenue streams were generated by leasing the Seaman Hall to Gary College, a practice that would persist throughout the decades, as the hall would also be leased to Indiana University Northwest. Proceeding into the 1950s, the church's greatest years were coming to a close. Never again would the sanctuary see over 3,000 active members. So what changed?
A city with smokestacks rising against us.
Gary, a company town that relied on the health of the U.S. Steel. When sweeping layoffs began in the 1960s, white flight ravaged the city. Churchgoers would grow more frequent as crime rate and maintenance costs only skyrocketed. By 1973, only 320 of the aging congregation remained, and only about a third still attended. So it was ultimately decided on October 5th, 1975, that the church would close for the last time. Indiana University would still continue to use the Seaman Hall as a satellite campus, but leaving the rest of the church to deteriorate, which would catch fire in 1997. While the stone husk lingers in the downtown of Gary, it's found a new purpose. Like moths to a flame, urban explorers flock from across the country to come see this renowned structure. Even when the roof collapsed in 2011, that didn't stop people from coming. Gary attempted to combat this by placing a law requiring explorers to have a permit to photograph and explore these abandoned buildings, but as of now, this law has kind of fallen by the wayside. What isn't forgotten is the church's presence in Hollywood, appearing in movies like Soul Survivors, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Transformers Dark of the Moon, Sense8, and Life After People, but its spotlight may be dimming soon. On December 23, 2024, Gary City Council appropriated $2 million in funds for the redevelopment of the property, demolishing everything but the sanctuary and turning the rest into a park. The City Methodist Church truly has become its own person, a movie star, a prominent destination, and a stark reminder of the decline of industry in the Midwest. So when that young adrenaline junkie walks through the new park and looks at the old structure, it'll be a sign of hope. A sign of hope that no matter how much we fall and how much we struggle, that we can still get back up, as long as we don't forget where we once stood.